So I touched on this a little in my Outer Worlds review, and I wanted to make a bigger, more cohesive point about how women are being portrayed in video games nowadays. I wanted to make a longer video in an articulate way on the subject because there's a lot of daily upload channels and outrage channels that can polarize subjects, and their biases can overextend past what is logically seen. These are even channels I like, but they often get tunnel view and make mistakes that people who call them toxic take note of. An example would be a game putting one SJW thing in their game. That means rumors of even worse SJW thing 2, 3, and 4 are correct when they aren't. Another example would be Company A pulls out all the bells and whistles hyping up their diverse feminist game, and of course the writing is trash, preachy, and the tokenization is tasteless, but Company B makes a cool little game quietly and has a good female pro tag. Many automatically assume Company B is SJW. When it's like, I mean, there's two genders, you do one or the other. Yeah, I mean, most PC or console gamers are guys, so you kind of want to play as a guy most of the time, but playing as a girl is pretty cool too. I mean, women are pretty cool and all, outside of stealing all your money through alimony and locking you in the girls' bathroom of a 7-Eleven with no cell phone or car key. I mean, they have totally different walk cycles, they're a lot prettier to look at, and they give us a perspective into different types of story if it's a story-heavy game. I can understand people who hear these arguments about diversity in games getting jaded and starting to take the side of social justice. To them, these annoying, toxic fans just want to complain and will complain about everything. But the thing is, the anti-woke crowd weren't the ones who started this meltdown. The anti-woke crowd is the response to the continued increase of all of this nonsense in games, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon. So telling the person who's yelling fire in a crowded theater to stop because they've been yelling for 10 minutes and that's so annoying doesn't negate the fact that there's a fire. Wait, why are you here? Get out of the theater. Both of you, it's been 10 minutes, get out of the theater! Because there is a fire here, and in the case of social justice, it's only getting worse. Some of the problems the anti-woke fandom have is by needing to sell their product with clickbait and the fact that negativity sells. I'm not here to hate on them, however, because I really don't want to do their daily upload job, and they usually are far more correct than they are incorrect. What I want to do is extend the olive branch to those in the center and those on the left who may not be aware of how bad it's getting and the dangers of social engineering. For everyone who thinks this whole keeping women from being attractive in games is to give them respect or some such thing, well, you are living in a hole, my friend. But we'll get into how much sexualization is too much later, but for right now, let's dispel this idea. The whole point of making women in games ugly, or at the very least less feminine and more masculine, is a part of a political agenda to destabilize the nuclear family model. Well, that's an outrageous statement and a conspiracy theory. No, actually, I'll explain in exactly 30 seconds how it's a conspiracy fact, so don't click off yet. During the George Floyd riots of 2020, Black Lives Matter, one of the most important and profitable left-wing charities on earth, was riding high with donations in the millions and support for most celebrities. They had virtually everyone in every street corner saying Black Lives Matter on it. So what are some of the beliefs of the most important left-wing charity in modern history? Well, BLM have admitted on their website that they were trying to destabilize the Western nuclear family. They cared so little about what critics thought of them at the time that they left this on their website for months. You could say they were getting a little cocky.
I don't know how many people look into the mission statement of Black Lives Matter. This mission statement that says, quote, "We dismantle the patriarchal practice. We disrupt the Western prescribed nuclear family structure requirement." When I know statistics, when I know my reality, forget statistics. I knew this before I even went to Columbia and saw these same statistics, that children from the single parent home 5 times more likely to commit suicide, 6 times more likely to be in poverty, 9 times more likely to drop out.
Oh, wait, what was that? The most influential political charity on earth saying they want to destroy the family structure? Sounds like a conspiracy theory to me. Oh, I don't believe it. No. Wall Street Journal said this has been debunked. I'm sorry, man. Fox News. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. Kotaku said this has been debunked. You're lying to me. You're lying to me. This proves the goal is to destroy the family for at least a decent amount of left-wing activists, or at the very least, a good amount of powerful ones. With that knowledge, we can now look into what social engineering is and how it's being used in video games. So how do you destroy the family as it relates to video games? Well, you can go root A and install a sterilization machine on all the controllers. Where would the sterilization machine go, you might ask? Show me which piece on the N64 controller bit you. Route B, a lot more practical, is the proverbial boiling frog of social engineering. Well, social engineering, this social engineering, not that social engineering, is often associated with the eugenics movements, the early 20th century of progressive American medicine, and of course the naughty no word YouTube doesn't like, so let's just say the nationwide socialist Germanic working man's festival. Social engineering, according to the oh-so-reliable Wikipedia, is the top-down effort to influence particular attitudes and social behaviors on a large scale, most often undertaken by governments, but also carried out by the media, academia, or private groups, in order to produce a desired characterization in a target population. Yes, I used a textbook definition in my video. The fact that I acknowledged it makes it okay, kind of like the 5-second rule. Way back when, the goal of eugenics was to get all the poor dumb people out of the gene pool. My response is, maybe try tutoring first? But nevertheless, BLM's reasoning behind destroying the family may be different, at least in public, but its effects are still the same. Wanting to destroy a population because you hate dumb people and wanting to destroy a population because you think marriage is racist will have the same effect if successful. A destroyed population. There are many different motivations for having population control. Environmentalists, feminists, eugenics, and others. They got all sorts of new stuff on the block. I don't even know. But the motivations often have a paper trail academically back to the same source and always have the same evil core. Trying to get people to go against what they are genetically designed to do and subverting the procreation of a species, whether by force or subconsciously, is not exactly what I would call doing God's work. It's an evil idea to attempt to stigmatize the family unit and destroy population growth in countries where resources play a small factor. A family unit, even in impoverished nations, is usually the most effective and safe way to procreate in a way that helps society, so I have no idea why destroying the bedrock of civilization would help anyone who cares about people. With all this in mind, someone can easily see what this new version of women in video games is about. It's about making men less attracted to women by making women less like women. Ultimately, it's about population control, but there's different trains of logic depending on which left-winger you talk to. Feminism is a popular ideology within game companies and game journalism and has popularized many incorrect assumptions. The idea that men enjoying women's looks is bad is often cited as a reason to make women into whatever this is. I didn't know a person liking someone's beauty was a bad thing. I thought that was usually something you compliment people on. You know, here I was thinking, I'm here to be the prettiest princess in the ball. I thought the point of living was to better oneself. There's a lot of ways to better yourself, but the physical surface level of improvement in beauty shows people who look with outward eyes that you are dedicated on an inward level to bettering yourself, as shown by the outward evidence of grooming, nice clothes, and exercise. So beauty is a very important thing in people in general, but beauty is also an important aspect of art. Why would you, in general, create anything less than what is beautiful in your artwork? Why would you, in general, in one of the only mediums where you can control 100% how the characters look in it, make people look unattractive? The answer is, barring political ideologies, again, generally speaking, there would not be many scenarios in which having desexualized or non-feminine women would make sense in most games. Most games aren't some sort of statement or journey about sexualities or realistic portrayals of beauty. They're about jumping on Goombas, driving fast cars, or killing your opponent with magic and kung fu. So I want to see pretty princesses to save, hot girls at the finish line, and deadly femme fatales. Most games are not Silent Hill 2. They don't have some massive context and mature theming behind the characterization. Most games are to have fun with a unified art style that is easy to look at and character designs you like. So most games should have characters that at the very least look attractive if they're meant to be characters you like, because it's a fantasy world in which everything is staged to be beautiful. Princess Peach is attractive, Samus Aran is attractive, Cortana is attractive, and Lara Croft, even reboot Lara, is attractive because there's no reason they shouldn't be within the game design. Male Shepard is attractive, Dante is attractive, Leon is attractive, Nathan Drake is attractive. There's nothing sexist about beauty. The increase of so many women desexualized, sometimes masculine and clearly androgynous in gaming is terrible, honestly, and it's hurting the art form with propaganda. Look at The Outer Worlds. Now again, it's not about hair or dresses. Look at the character I made, look at the characters they made. Look at the men, they purposely made these women unattractive while the men are normal. Look at Alloy from Horizon Zero Dawn. The developers purposely made her masculine. I mean, just look at this model. Look at her. She is beautiful and they paid her to use her likeness only to destroy it. Look at Mass Effect Andromeda and don't say, oh, all the faces in that game are bad. Oh, are they? Look at the male protag and his actor and look at the female protag and her actress. Yeah, kinda night and day, huh? It's almost like there's an agenda or something. IDK, an artist from Netherrealms, even admitted that there was a boob size quota when making Injustice. One girl character can have big boobs, but all of them? I don't know, man. I think you don't deserve that much of a good thing. Bad kids don't get good toys. Look at the censorship of sex scenes in games like Mass Effect Trilogy or Devil May Cry 5. Oh look, this toxic troll doesn't want his side boob taken out of a game. How immature. Really? Really? Is that what this is about? Maturity? I want history and art not to be altered for the sake of political, social ideologies. Is that such crime? I didn't ask for or make the sex scenes in those games, but y'all are promoting censoring them. How am I the bad guy in this again? Look at how ugly Ellie is in The Last of Us 2, or how ugly Abby is.
If there's one thing to be upset about is how Ellie looks so ugly now.
Abby is so masculine looking, people are still confused about whether or not Abby is a transgender.
Not a great plan.
When players of your game are confused what the characters are even supposed to be, isn't that hurting the narrative? Look at this actress who is in a ton of games. Almost every time she's mocap, and she looks bad when in real life she looks good. It's funny how in order to promote their propaganda, these activists must also perpetuate stereotypes that black women look masculine. You're really owning the racists by giving them more fuel, aren't you? Checkmate, conservatard. We owned you. We owned you. The board is, we don't even have a board anymore. You have lost. You have lost. And here we are again with the same thing once more with the actress for the upcoming Fable. Beautiful girl, ugly game model. Same trash, different gym. It's almost as if you shouldn't censor beauty. I mean, sheesh, if they're pretty, let them be pretty. Not everybody has natural good looks. And the whole women being hot leads to gender stereotypes and misogyny in real life is it's just ridiculous. In the last few years, people claiming gaming causes real world violence have been put through the gutter by the internet. Now it's weird how this gaming and violence connection has been so opposed by so many gamers, yet sexism caused by gaming is somehow not as big of a deal. It hasn't gotten that same knee-jerk defensive reaction. Both accusations are equally offensive if you ask me. Because a guy shoots Nazi zombies, that means he's some sort of schizo on the brink of murdering everyone? Because a guy romances Morgan who shows a lot of skin, that means he hates women? What? Both seem far-fetched. Now they've put a lot of gamers into MK Ultra style testing environments to see if gaming makes them violent or sexist, and the results are, let's say, varied. With some saying yes and some saying no. So I'm not about to have some sort of citation war in this video. Let's keep it simple. If shooting random people in GTA doesn't lead most gamers to shooting random people in real life, then women being attractive or sexualized in video games probably doesn't lead to men hating women or abusing them. Now let's get into the topic of sexualization versus beauty. Some games have been maligned as showing women in unrealistic ways simply for sexual gratification. I mean, some games have been lied about in that they show women with too generous, portions? Okay. Let's be honest. Lots of games show women in unrealistic ways, simply for sexual gratification. I mean, is this a game or is this a porn? These types of games are not for me, and even some of the normal games can get a little outrageous with their sizes and take me out of because of the over-sexualization.
You do know one-eyed monster usually means...
Huh? Means what?
Mithra, why are you blushing?
What?
Oh my gosh. How embarrassing.
Girl.
Oh my gosh. Oh my god. No. Turn it off. humanity was a mistake. Japan was a mistake. I mean, yeah, boobs are cool and all, but as Dr. Phil says, the true beauty of a woman comes from her personality. But games that exclusively focus on hot girls exist in a different category. These games know exactly what they are, and most games with hot women still aren't quite like these. There's a Venn diagram with overlap, but there's different types of games for everyone. Even if you don't like some of these more fan service-y portrayals in general audience games. Dang, back in my day, fan service meant getting the fans fixed. Now this is what it means? Man, you animes ruin everything. Japan was the real mistake. You can argue back and forth about modesty for women and how they are portrayed in media, which is a good conversation to have, but it's a conversation that's a little bit more complex than if men like women in bikinis, then men are evil. Here's a crazy idea. Maybe women wearing yoga pants feels great for them, but it's actually harmful and distracting to men, giving them the horny, leading them to inner turmoil. Maybe sexualization can hurt men.
Ever thought of that? Ever thought of that?
I know, mind-blowing. Thinking of men as actual people is so foreign. These conversations can't just consist of accusations that assume men are the bad guys, and can't just devolve into moral panic. Both parties have to be valued in order for any reasonable conversation about modesty to be had. But regardless of modesty, women should nearly always, depending on the theming, be beautiful. And again, most games is collect these coins, or fight this boss, so we aren't exactly attempting to cover complex themes about self-image here. The level of believability depends on the game, the character, and the context or situation. Having dead or alive babes in Call of Duty or Halo would feel out of place, but that doesn't mean that women in these games, or most games, should be unattractive. Even with realistic games where characters are less sexualized, with more realistic, portions, they should be more attractive and beautiful most of the time. A good example of this was when they took Lara Croft from the old Tomb Raider games, larger-than-life sex symbol, and made her into a much more down-to-earth human. They specifically talked about how they wanted to tone down her sexiness and wanted players to look at her eyes, which means they made her ugly, right? Nope, she's still one hot mama. She's just got more realistic proportions and dirt on her. Resident Evil 3 remake makes Jill Valentine very striking, despite being in a disgusting zombie-filled city, and her attractiveness just makes you like her more for it, honestly. When you like to look at your character in a game, you at least have a surface-level attachment to that character. In Silent Hill 3's development, many of the male designers wanted to make Heather completely unsexualized, as she is a 17-year-old girl, and it would make sure and focus the story on her internal pain, character, and struggle. It's a very noble and intelligent way to essentially put a burqa on her, but the female devs weren't having it. They made sure Heather was cute, with feminine features and wardrobe, like a skirt. With the decision to not make Heather a Quaker, this greatly affects a lot of the game. I don't know if the writing would have been as rebellious, having that teen confidence, if she had been shown physically as some awkward, subdued teen, afraid to admit she's a girl hitting puberty. To be clear, Heather in this game is not some model, and neither should she be. Just like even the idealized Maria in 2 wasn't some sort of perfect woman we see as models in real life, but Heather is attractive. No one said that every person needs to be a 10 in every game, but there's a balance between everybody being a 10 and this. The nature of being a woman and being sexualized even plays into Silent Hill 3's gameplay a lot, making Heather feel insecure and paranoid about herself. They even pull some near fourth wall breaks in here, where really the person Heather is afraid of is you, the player. Again, this aspect would have felt off if she'd just been some teen tomboy against all things feminine. It would have changed the context of the story to be about a teen who does not sexualize herself at all, who's afraid of being sexualized presumably only because of her dark past, versus what we got. Teen who wants to be pretty, who is still working out what it means to grow up, sexualizing herself, and eventually growing to be afraid of what that sexualization could bring, on top of a dark past. You see, what we got has a lot more depth. Oddly enough, my last example of realistic beauty is The Last of Us 1. Yeah, the second one I hated on that, but the first one does realistic beauty perfect. It's a zombie apocalypse, so of course you don't have too much time to pretty up. Last of Us is all about dirty cities, poor living conditions, and the fight to survive, so don't exactly expect Bayonetta to pop out. What we do get is a fairly attractive Ellie and Tess. Ellie isn't sexualized, but is very pretty, almost showing her innocence as making her separate to the world and all the hardships of it. She doesn't look beat up by the world yet. She looks like Joel's princess he wants to save, which is kind of the whole point. She's one of the only people in the story that isn't a monster or gray morally. She hasn't been tainted, so her design actually communicates a lot when they could have just said, nah, it's a zombie apocalypse, make her look disgusting. Then in The Last of Us 2, she suddenly looks all masculine and she just looks awful, honestly. What skin products were you using in 1, honey? Because you really need to go back to those. Granted, Ellie has lived a hard life up until this point, but I don't think we're supposed to see Ellie as completely being corrupted until the main events that kicked off the plot of 2 happen. The game should have actually slowly changed her appearance throughout 2 if you want to go with the stupid story they wrote, with her being attractive at the beginning and slowly turning dark. This is what happens when politics matter more than what's good for the game, is you not only alienate the audience, you lose depth. And beauty added depth to the character of Ellie, and sex appeal added depth to Heather. So actually it really worked into their overall character journeys. So don't say attractive women in realistic settings don't work. It does work because beauty is itself realistic and natural. So when that SJW snake oil man is a-coming your way, say no thank you, Mr. Snake Oil. I like my girls pretty, and send him across the bay. I like to make videos like these. I try and be thorough and funny, accurate and articulate and all that jazz. Sometimes they're, sometimes they're a little good. So if you liked it, click the subscribe button so you can see those future videos. And just an FYI, the sub button on YouTube is right here, just in case you weren't aware. If you didn't like the video, I'm sorry. I'll try and do better next time. And if you wanted to watch another video like this right now, congrats, here's a couple of choices from past videos. Thank you for watching and have a great day.